In Japan's pre-modern history, swordsmiths were as important as the samurai who wielded their swords. In fact, they were sometimes even more important. Amakuni, remembered in myth as the legendary swordsmith and founder of the Japanese sword. The three great masters Yoshimitsu Masamune and Yoshihiro were celebrated for their famed blades. The swords crafted by the renowned master swordsmith Muramasa would eventually come to be associated with the image of evil. This time, we will explore the fascinating history of Muramasa, a sword that continues to exude an eerie aura. Muramasa was hailed as one of the finest masters of his time, forging blades that were both exquisite and deadly. Yet, because they were too practical for battle, they came to be called cursed blades rather than treasured ones. The bizarre behavior of their owners, coupled with countless stories about the curse placed upon the swords, continued to unsettle people's hearts. The birth year of the man known as Sango Muramasa remains a mystery. Some say he lived in the 15th century, while others claim he appeared during the turbulent early 16th century. There are also various theories about how he rose to prominence. Some of these stories are quite fanciful, portraying Muramasa as a disciple of Masamune, or even as Masamune's destined rival. However, judging from the style of his swords and metallurgical dating, it is more natural to consider Muramasa a later figure. The most credible theory suggests that he trained under Hyunjo Nagayoshi, a renowned swordsmith of Kyoto during the Muromachi period. His temperament was said to be fierce, at times even bordering on madness. Others describe him as an obsessive perfectionist who poured his soul solely into sword forging. It was an age of war. Practical swords and short blades, such as katana and wakizashi, were widely used by warriors and foot soldiers. Within this context, Muramasa displayed unrivaled skill. Though influenced by his teacher, Nagayoshi, Muramasa broke through many established conventions. His distinctive hamon, a wavy temper line, resembled a sea of clouds. Another feature often seen was the nakago, whose shape evoked the belly of a fish. Muramasa was also renowned for practicality. The sharpness of his blades was feared on the battlefield. Later evaluations described them as cutting ability first, revealing his pursuit of performance above all else. Although his active years were not long, Muramasa's school took root in Aiz province, where his disciples carried on the tradition. Thus many swords bearing the name Muramasa were handed down through the generations. His fame was not established overnight. It was said that when Muramasa dipped his blade into water, floating leaves were drawn to the edge and sliced on their own. Among the countless swords mass-produced during the turbulent times, this sword's high quality earned it the trust of samurai. Its quality was good enough to be passed down as an anecdote that stimulates the imagination. Muramasa's swords were carried into battle by many warriors, used as tools to truly cut human flesh. Onto this bloody reality, stories of curses were added. Throughout the Edo period, rumors spread. Muramasa was said to have infused his blades with bloodthirsty spirits through dark rituals. Once drawn, they could not be sheathed until blood was spilled, driving their owners to madness. Yet behind these fantasies lay real events involving the Tokugawa family. Tokugawa, Ieyasu's grandfather, Matsudra Kiyoyasu, was killed by a Muramasa blade. His father, Matsudra Hirotada, was wounded in an attack involving one. Ieyasu's heir, Nobuyasu, was forced to commit seppuku with a Muramasa blade, a sword that drank Tokugawa blood across 3 generations. The Tokugawa Chronicle Mikawa Monogatari records Muramasa as an ominous sword spanning 3 generations. Still, Ieyasu himself possessed Muramasa blades and passed them down. If he believed in the curse, why would he keep them? Perhaps he dismissed superstition, or perhaps he did not realize they were Muramasa blades. Or maybe he simply could not part with swords of such quality. Subsequently, the reputation of Muramasa swords as cursed swords or evil swords spread. During the Edo period, the shogunate did not generally encourage the possession of Muramasa swords. In fact, it took measures to restrict their ownership. There are records of people attempting to erase or conceal the Muramasa inscription on the swords. By the late Edo period, as the era faltered, Muramasa re-emerged as a symbol of anti-Tokugawa sentiment. Demand surged so much that forgeries became rampant. Among the loyalist warriors, some deliberately carried Muramasa blades to declare their defiance against the shogunate. Muramasa had become more than a weapon. It had taken on the role of a political symbol. Within certain Tokugawa circles, however, Muramasa was not feared but remembered as a symbol of caution. It reminded them of the chaos of war, that both nation and family could fall to ruin with a single stroke. After the Bakumatsu, as peace returned to Japan, swords ceased to be weapons and became valued as art objects. As cultural treasures with advanced technique and artistry, they have been carefully preserved and restored over the centuries. Today, Muramasa and the 3 great masters are still housed in the Tokugawa Art Museum and the National Museum. Because they were so practical as weapons, Muramasa's blades were not called treasured swords, but cursed swords. Yet, there is no evidence that any magical power truly resided in them. Were Muramasa's swords truly cursed? Or was it people's fear and imagination that transformed them into cursed blades? Do you believe in the curse of Muramasa's swords?